From students to seasoned leaders, corporate executives to community activists, from the boardroom to the classroom, front desk to the construction site, we travel the country having real conversations to gain perspectives and insights on what it takes to thrive. This is the iBuild America podcast with your host, Byron V. Garrett.
Greetings, folks. It's your guy, Byron Garrett, sitting here hosting our latest episode of the iBuild America podcast. So excited to come back with another great installment. As I promised you, we'll be talking about business from the boardroom to street talks, and today is no disappointment. We've got one of the best restaurateurs in the nation. Not only is she up and coming, but she's already done amazing things. A full-time mom, a full-time wife, a full-time business owner. You name it, she does it. But also one of my good friends. Welcome to the podcast today, none other than Miss Rasheedah White.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here today.
Thanks for joining us. So I got to get started though, right? Because Rasheedah and I do go back, so I got to do that in full disclosure. That's not why we're doing the interview. We're doing the interview because we talk about people with style, but in this particular case, we're going to talk about your substance. Now, let's start with being a mom, because I know you just shipped one of your daughters off to school to Tuskegee. So tell me how you balance it all and how you feeling.
It's been emotional, but when I think about what I have, parent her, to do all these years is to, when you're 18, you're going to college, you're going to do X, Y, and Z. And she did just that. I just wasn't ready.
Yeah. What do you mean you weren't ready? Like you weren't ready for her to leave the state or leave home or both?
Both. I mean, I wanted her to go to college, but I was like, maybe she'll go close. Maybe she'll do something in Tucson. Maybe she'll do something in Cali. No, she went all the way to Tuskegee, Alabama, which is 1,743 miles away from me.
Who's counting?
So
she's at one of the great HBCUs.
She is.
Was that important to you or important to her, coming from the state of Arizona, out of curiosity?
I think going to a PWI for high school and all of the majority of her life, once we joined Jack and Jill, she was like, wow, Mom, there is another world that I haven't been a part of. And so when she was looking at colleges, she was like, I really want to do the HBCU route. And we went to visit about 7 of them. And Tuskegee was not on our list, but we just did a prayer. And we asked God to lead and to open up. And we just did the Common App. And then we had a recruiter who did a whole gamut. And we got the first 3 approvals. And she was like, Tuskegee is it. She said God spoke to her and told her that's where it is.
And so how does it feel now knowing you've got one daughter gone and you got one daughter left? So you feel like you're going to deal with empty nest syndrome like people talk about, or that's not an issue for you right now?
It's not an issue for us because I feel like, Larry, we're so active in our marriage. We try to put, my kids, God is first, right? Mm. Then we put our marriage second and our kids third. So with me saying that, we still like each other. We do a lot of fun stuff. We do activities. We do date night. So it's not, I think a lot of parents put their kids over their marriage.
Yeah.
And then when their kids are gone, they're looking at each other like, what do we do? Where it's kind of been opposite for us. So I think it's good growth for them to see mom and dad still doing stuff, but know that you have my attention as well.
So as we think about this idea of how do you build businesses, how do you build relationships, how do you build systems, it sounds like you see your relationship. I'm not going to say, you didn't say it's like a business,
right?
But you really built a partnership that has to work on both ends. Would you say that's been critical to your overall success?
I would say yes, because I didn't understand the restaurant world. And when I was out of it and I was working corporate and Larry would spend all these hours at the restaurant, I'd be like, where are you? Come home. You know what I mean? And so he was like, it's like, a child and you have to foster this relationship. And it was, in its early infancy stages and he never came home. And I felt like, that was an issue. But as I learned the restaurant business and I began to, work more and get involved and leave my corporate setting, I was like, wow, you do live here.
So let's take a step back. And so the corporate setting, you started your career in banking. Mm-hmm. How does one decide to leave? You go through this process, you get this prestigious role. How do you leave banking to say, I'm just going to step out on my own and we got a restaurant business? That's what we're going to do. How do you do that?
Faith in God, I just have to say, because when Larry came to me, it was like, I need your help to grow. I went to my mom and I was like, hey, listen, I've worked this corporate ladder, mm-hmm. and I like what I do. I left banking and then I went into healthcare, and I loved my setting. I loved my job. And she was like, you're meant to be a helpmate. I said, excuse me, what does that look like? I'm here for him,
Right.
and I'm going to back him. But
like, I've been to grad school. I got these jobs. What are you talking about? I'm supposed to be a helpmate.
Exactly.
How does that work in my life?
It was scary for me as a person. Just letting go. I think I'm a little bit of a control freak. Just a little bit.
I'm sure your daughters can testify to that.
I know. And I've never been a real science person, but you like look at what Virgo, the attributes of a Virgo, I'm like, oh my God, that is totally me. So anyway, so I just had to believe in God, and I went part-time at the hospital.
Yep.
I didn't fully let go just in case.
So you didn't just let go just yet.
No.
So you still had benefits.
I
you still
did.
had some income coming in.
I did. I went PRN.
What would you tell an entrepreneur then who says, I want to start a business? Would you tell them they should quit their job and just roll the dice on anything?
Don't quit immediately.
Nope, tell them that.
Do not quit your job immediately. That is bringing in a consistent income. Mm-hmm. You can leave slowly while you continue to build, because Lolo's didn't pop immediately. When it was payroll every 2 weeks, I would look at Larry and be like, we just paid payroll. How?
Right. We didn't have it.
Yes.
That's right.
And our chicken was going bad, so Larry had to get out and go to the airport, to the Skycaps. Hey, when people are coming in, give them my card, here, come to Lolo's, So I worked weekends at the restaurant, trying to, learn it and be a part of it. So I wasn't completely out of it. But our waitress, Larry, would be the cook in the back and our waitress up front. And we had a 3-man crew. And that's what we rocked with.
A 3-man crew?
A 3-man crew.
When you started. How many employees you got now across all these states? How many? 500
employees.
500
We're at
employees.
497 to be exact.
Well, I'm an honorary employee, so 498.
Right.
So, and how many locations? So you got Lolo's as a brand?
Yes, we have Lolo's.
Monroe's?
Yes. We have Brunch and Sip.
Brunch and Sip.
And then we have Warren Supper Club, our newest restaurant.
And Brunch and Sip is here in Arizona and also in California?
No, Brunch and Sip will be in Cali. So Brunch and Sip is in Cali. We're dealing with the fire department. It's our last sign off. Our restaurant is ready to open. It is completely. So Brunch and Sip, and then Lolo's in Dallas. We're in Grapevine, and then we have Lolo's in soon to be Houston. I have my final call today. It's under construction. We should be open in about 90 days.
So a team of 3
Vegas.
to 500 employees to multiple states.
Yes.
We're not going to talk about the overall revenue. But I'm just curious, do you ever look at your life one day and just say, how in the world did I get here?
Yesterday when I saw you at the restaurant and I saw my counselor when I was going to University of Phoenix, and it was right when everything was coming to the head that I needed to quit corporate and I was going to go work at the restaurant full time. And I went to her and I was like, how am I going to get this done? And she remembers me coming to her office, asking for advice, asking for wisdom as a woman of color and a woman of knowledge. Mm-hmm. How would you navigate this? I'm nervous. And she said, you got it. And that was our conversation yesterday when I went to talk to the lady behind us. Full circle. She was like, Rasheedah, I think I use you all the time. Yep. How you were so nervous to step out, but once you did it, you owned it.
And you had a plan, right? So, like you said, you didn't just quit your job.
I didn't.
You phased it in so that you would still have revenue and income.
Larry did that, and we moved into his house that he grew up in. Our mortgage was $507. So we could handle that.
Your mortgage $507
right.
now?
Do you remember those days? No. It's a far cry from it.
And I don't want to switch residences. I love your place, right. But I don't want any bills associated with it. So I'm curious, so we talk about restaurateur, being a mom, being a wife. What would you say if you were telling anybody, giving them advice right now? It may be what you give China and Malaysia, your daughters, but what advice would you give somebody who's watching right now saying, how do I build America? What do I do? Where do I get started?
Find what you're passionate about. And when you're passionate about something, it doesn't feel like work. I never imagined myself. I knew I was always a boss, but I feel like Larry, like we partner very well. I handle the operations and the business side, and I thrive there, and I love it. Mm-hmm. So when I have to, work, I feel like I work 7 days a week, whether I have, a full day schedule like today, and I'm trying to knock out everything, or whether there's just a 2 or 3 hours. There's something I do for the restaurants almost every single day.
7 days a week.
7 days a week, but I love it,
but
and I love the lifestyle.
Did you expect that as an entrepreneur that you will be working for yourself 7 days a week, 365 days a year?
No. I told Larry I have 5 to 7 more years to run this hard. And then after that, I feel like I have given you a full gamut of life, and I want to transition and do something else. I don't know what else is, if that's just relaxing on a beach somewhere, or if that's building another. I don't know. I don't know what that looks like, but I know I only want to do restaurants this hard 5 to 7 more years.
Because how long have you all been established?
Gosh, we started this journey in 2002.
2002.
So
And
2002.
it's 2025.
Yes, and it just went by so fast. And it's been a road, it hasn't always been the daisies and the flowers, and everyone just sees our success today, and they see the car and the house and all
and
the
we see
things.
the celebrities on Instagram that come out of the restaurant. We see that you do the Suns game and all of these other things.
Right.
You mean that's not everyday life?
That's not every day. I said, like Kobe said, you weren't with me when I was in the balling in the gym, right?
Yeah.
So there was
That
days
part.
where we didn't know how we were going to pay our bills. We didn't know how we were going to pay our mortgage, but we didn't stop, and we kept going, and we just looked to God for grace and mercy. And I feel like we just, every day, whether you can't give up.
So when people use the expression saying they got it out of the mud. So you literally have built restaurants from the ground up. You literally have gotten it out of the mud.
Literally.
I'm curious, what's the visualization or the creative process? You just see a piece of dirt and then you end up saying, now I'm going to have a 2-story restaurant.
That's literally how it is. And we laugh about it all the time. We start on a piece of paper, literally, and we kind of canvas or draw out what we want, what we envision. And then we bring it to life. Like, people didn't see the Brunch and Sip office building, but where there's a will, there's a way. And we just start from literally a piece of paper and we build up. And that's how we build all of our restaurants. Our menus, we have we keep notes. And whenever we go out, like our supper club, we're like, one day when we have a supper club and we just drop those nuggets through life, we want to have this live music. This is the type of cuisine. And then we go to brunch. When we do a brunch concept, we want to do this type of pancake. We want to offer this type of brunch. And we just keep running lists and we just add to it.
So whose idea was it? I'm just curious. I'm just biased. Who decided to do the peach cobbler French toast? I just need to know. I'm going to steal the recipe as soon as you give it to me.
You know what I have to say, Larry? Larry's your kitchen. Larry is your creative process. Larry is your Instagram. Larry is, he enjoys the marketing and he enjoys the food development. His palate is like no other. He will taste something somewhere and he can tell you almost every ingredient in that meal, and then we bring it home.
So one of the things I hear you say without saying it directly, so you and Larry have this great partnership as business partners, husband and wife, but you're also really clear about what your skill set is and is not. And do you ever find y'all cross each other's lanes and get in the way, or no?
Yes, and when the paths cross, I'm very territorial. I think that's that control piece I talked about. Okay. And I slap his hand. And it's not intentional. I do. Because he'll mess it up, or he'll do something that we don't do, or he doesn't understand what we've streamlined. And, there's no more applications that we hand out in person anymore. Larry is very much of the old school regime, and we don't do it that way anymore. So he may not understand what we've automated and how we've grown on the corporate level, and he misspeaks. So just refer to me. If you ask me something about Instagram, I'm going to say talk to Larry.
Talk to Larry, yeah.
If you ask me something about a recipe, I'm going to say talk to Larry.
But talk to me about this business structure and how we're going to finance this particular location.
I got you. And I thrive all day in that space. And I feel like I do people well and I do numbers well. So those are my two things. And so I do, I like to oversee the hiring.
Yep.
And then I like to oversee the financial piece.
I love that. So one of the things I would mention to people who are listening, especially if you're an entrepreneur or you're starting a business, this notion of, while you probably do understand all those functions, you've gotten to a point as you've grown of saying, this is my space. This is what I'm really, really good at. Let me build out a team that can take care of these other components. Would you say I know sometimes you have family that works in the business, sometimes it's friends. Would you say expertise becomes more important than any of those other factors? It
does. I have a hard rule of I will never hire another friend. That's really hard to say. I know, friend, but you know what? Unless we have, I feel like this. We need to have. I'm gonna call it framework, because I feel like it has to be framework from the bottom to the top, and we just set expectations.
Yeah.
So I think that's it gets muddied with family and friends. Oh, she's cool. But then it's a different level when you're in your business. You might see me out and I might be totally different. But when it comes to the four walls and, securing business.
Well, you got a multi-million-dollar enterprise you're running, right? This ain't 2 little rooms.
Correct.
And I got 20 tables.
Right.
I got over 200 tables in 6, 8 different states?
Yes.
It's a very different concept.
Very much so.
I heard this expression once upon a time that said, everybody that started with you can't go where you're going.
That's very true.
And Michelle Obama recently in one of her podcasts, she simply said, some people you got to let them go or leave them where they are because they're not for the journey for you to go ahead. Would you say that holds true at times in your life?
Very true. I just had a near and dear friend of 30 years. and we had to part ways. We just had different visions of work, different paths of work, and what worked for me, or I'm sorry, what worked for her didn't work for me. And at the end of the day, if my team is not getting what they're, what I'm paying you to do, it's a problem. So I feel like I do work for my employees, because they make us great. If they're not happy, then how can we execute and bring greatness to the customers who we're serving every day?
Wow.
So I internally work for my employees to
now
make
we've
sure.
we've covered a lot of ground, and so as you think about the next phase, you alluded to it and said maybe 6-7 years from now I need to do something different. You got any inkling of what you think that might be? Like if you could start with a blank canvas, another blank slate or a blank sheet of paper, what does Rasheedah 2.0 look like? What's the next iteration or variation of what has already been an amazingly lived life?
I don't know what that looks like. I don't know if it's building something with the girls so that it's their own. I mean, of course, we'll have our empire, but do I build a brand with the girls? Do we build, I don't know. I see what their passions and desires are. And I just want to show them that entrepreneurship is definitely, a great place, a great space to be in. So I guess I'll just see where we go from here. I don't know.
Look, we'll all be looking to see what's next.
I know. I'm excited.
So one final question for you. Mm-hmm. When you think about the concept of the podcast, it's iBuild America. So whether I was a cook or whether I'm the restaurant owner, whether I'm the attorney, the bus driver, I could be the teacher, the scientist, athlete, whatever role, how would you say and what would you say if you said iBuild America ...
Oh, you got me there.
Yeah, how do you build America?
I feel like it's one person at a time how we build. I feel like, you build one thing at a time and then you can grow and you can make it greater. So if whatever that thing is, I don't even know how to describe it, but I feel like it's one thing at a time and you build up on it and make it great.
I love that. I'll close and leave you out with this thought. Our great guest, Rasheedah White. I mean, Monroe's, Lolo's Chicken and Waffles, Brunch and Sip, Warren, all of those great things. And if I were to sum up one of the things I heard you say, find something in life that you love doing that you would do it for free.
Correct.
But do it so well you get paid for it. That's our time this week. Make sure you tune in for the next episode of iBuild America podcast.